Committee of Adjustments for Tuesday, August the 20th, regular meeting agenda. Maybe we could do B as well. Committee of Adjustment, Tuesday, September the 3rd, regular meeting agenda. Moved by Councillor Baker and supported by Councillor Bondi. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Correspondence from St. Clair College of Applied Arts and Technology. Agreement with St. Clair College in regard to veterinary technician program. Councillor Baker.
Move receipt.
Move receipt by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Vokes. Questions?
Yeah, through your Deputy Mayor. So we're receiving, this is the second year in a 5-year contract, I believe that's how it's worded in terms of this. So we're just receiving this for information. Has there been some updates, if I can get some clarity?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there has been some updates to the agreement. A number of clauses have been changed through meetings that administration and the board has had with the college and with the Lakeshore Dog Pound, with the area dog pound. A number of changes have taken place. I don't have all of those details in terms of the chronology of the changes, but suffice to say, I think the majority of the members of the board have agreed to these changes, and it's now before this council for your consideration and approval.
So we're receiving this tonight. Are we having a motion on accepting this contract agreement? It is in motion.
It is in the motion.
All right.
Sorry, Councillor Bondi.
First of all, I want to say the committee did work really hard on this agreement, and it certainly isn't perfect. And I do want to thank our administration, Russ and Donna, going on Essex, the behalf of Essex at the last meeting because I couldn't make it. Any agreement that brings research and animals together, raises red flags with me personally. So it was really important that some significant changes were made. And the agreement, it took a while to get to this stage because the agreement did go back several times. And I do admit that it's not the perfect agreement in my world, but we compromised, we collaborated, and there is going to be accountability in the new agreement. So it's something that at this point I can endorse. And it takes a lot for me to say that, but I think that's what working together is all about. And it works for everyone. The other municipalities are all satisfied. St. Clair College is satisfied. And I do urge the Council of Essex to continue to question and to continue to investigate animal welfare issues in our municipality, because I think we can always do better. And I'm a believer that we can always do better, but we've come so far. Somebody once told me, Sherry, you need to stop looking at what you haven't accomplished and start looking at what you have accomplished. So Essex, and you've been supportive behind us, and we have accomplished something. And the major accomplishment I can say is that the stats from the animals that go to St. Clair College will be sent back to us, and that's in writing. So that is an accomplishment, and I think we can all put a feather in our cap for that one. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bondi. Yeah. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through your Deputy Mayor Losh. So what you're suggesting is that the improvements are based on what? Because I've only known St. Clair College to do a stellar job in what they've done in the past. So what aspect is it that's different in this contract? You made those statements, so.
Councillor Bondi, can you answer that?
Since being on the dog pound committee, it's been about 3 years. We've asked St. Clair College for stats, what happens to the animals that we send there at a Lakeshore Dog Pound, and we've never received it in writing. And unless we asked, we did receive it in writing a couple of times, but the reason for euthanasia was not quoted, and now we will get that listed. So, out of the dogs that we send there, we will just, really old dog, or a really sick dog, or a bitey dog. So we will see that. And there were deficiencies in the agreement, but I think that we've worked it out. And it wasn't just the town of Essex. It was everybody at the table, and our administration as well.
Okay, so you're happy as a board member?
Happy as I'm going to be.
Good.
CEO Phillips has a comment?
Just to add, Mr. Chair, to add to what Councillor Bondi had indicated, there's also an annual review process that was not present in the previous agreement, and it causes the group to get together and revisit any concerns that any of the parties have, and I think that was a significant stumbling block for us before. We're also meeting on a more regular basis in terms of the administrative aspect of it, so kind of the behind the scenes, talking amongst the Lakeshore group and the Pound group and the St. Clair. I think we've, broken down some barriers, which I think is helping. So I think going forward, I certainly am pleased and glad to hear that board members are pleased. So I hope it gets recommended.
Thank you. And I just want to comment to administration, thank you for going through this, but also Councillor Bondi for bringing this forward. I know you've been very aggressive with this and been passionate about it, so thank you. So now I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Next on our correspondence list is the Corporation of the Municipality of Leamington Assess and Restore Program. Looking for a motion.
I'll move receipt and support for a letter.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. And support from Councillor Bowman. Any questions? Councillor Baker?
Just some comments. Today this was in the media, and just want to, because I'm involved in this, that this particular program is very effective, and it does result in the loss of 10 beds should it not be refunded again. But we're working collaboratively with the LIN, and as of today, I think we found out that it's on the board agenda for September. So we're quite positive. We're confident that we'll get some movement on this. So, but a letter of support is also good.
Thank you. That's good news. I don't see any further questions, so I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. That ends our correspondence section. We are now on committee meeting minutes. And I'm going to ask to have the Committee of Adjustment from June the 18th, 2013 minutes moved. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Baker. All in favor? That's carried. Now we're into bylaws. First bylaw is bylaw number 1246, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 124, being a bylaw regulating the sale and the setting of fireworks in the town of Essex. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Councillor Baker.
Question. Yes, Deputy Mayor Washington, just a question through you to administration. These fine rates, are they comparable to other municipalities that have accepted this, or are we the first that's setting the standard for this bylaw?
Through your worship, the only other municipality that has this bylaw in place right now is the town of Kingsville, and this is comparable. It is exact same set fine as theirs.
Thank you. Any further questions? None? Call the question then. All in favor of that bylaw? That's carried. Next bylaw is bylaw number 1247, being a bylaw for the declaration of surplus lands by the Corporation of the Town of Essex. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Next bylaw is bylaw number 1248, being a bylaw to provide for the reconsidered report for William Cornwall Pumping Works. Moved by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next bylaw is bylaw number... Sorry? Okay, I'm asking... On Monday, September the 30th, 2013, there will be a Court of Revision reconsidered report for the William Cornwall Pumping Works. And we're asking that the following three council members will step forward and be appointed to the Court of Revision for the William Cornwall Pumping Works on that date. Councillor Baker, and I will put my name out there as well. Councillor Bondi? And Councillor Bondi? Pardon? Can someone put a motion forward that appoints him? Moved by Councillor Bowman, supported by Councillor Baker. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. And we have nothing under financial, but we're into council discussions now. Sorry. I missed one. Oh, sorry. Sorry, just being pointed out here that I missed one bylaw. Maybe I didn't want that one passed. Bylaw number 1249 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 3rd, 2013 regular council meeting of the town of Essex. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Vokes. All in favor? That's carried. And now we are on to council discussions. And up is Councillor Sherry Bondi. And I think you wanted to start with specifics. So
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll just start, I have been talking to other fellow council members in Essex and administration in Essex and council members across the region, and I'd like to see if it was possible for the Council of Essex and administration to see if we can host possibly a public open house to talk about the proposed smoking bylaw. I'd love to see a draft bylaw, but I don't want to ask administration to do a draft bylaw, send them to the work table, then come back, then reject the bylaw, when in fact we may or may not even want to bylaw. So I think that it could be proactive if we set a date and see if we can, dedicate an hour to that issue only, and we know that, we'll take public delegations that day, and I think it would just, it could streamline a lot of the work our administration are doing. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I want to throw it out there to see. I think I talked briefly with, I'm not sure if I talked briefly with Russ, but I've talked to Donna about this idea, and some other councils have done surveys about what their council members want, and I know we're missing Councillor Scott and our mayor tonight, but I think that it might be a good idea to have a set aside a date for a discussion.
thanks, Councillor Bondi. So would we be able to perhaps, what's council's feelings on this? Do we want to have a debate, or do we want to allow a public meeting for this topic? Councillor Baker?
Yeah, through Deputy Mayor Malash. I think the process that we have is the public session when there is something drafted. We've had already a full public presentation. We've had the health board on one side. We've had it come back for discussion and debate, and we've asked the administration to go back and draft a bylaw based on discussions we've had that set the parameter. At that point in time, I think that's when the public can certainly look at this draft bylaw. We have a discussion, debate it, and have input at that particular session. I think that's what the process. It still allows for some open discussion with the public to do that. Maybe we just have a special meeting on that particular bylaw when it's drafted. That way, we've already got some premise to work with to do this. I mean, you made the comment whether they do or do not want it. I mean, at this point in time, I mean, we've debated it. I'd like to hear from the public, but it's already if we have something on the table. And I think that's what we've asked administration to do, is go back, based on our discussions, draft something that has designated areas in it, and then at that point in time, we could talk about it. Or are you talking about going right back to the drawing board and starting over again? I think we've directed administration to come up with a draft bylaw with those discussions in it, and then have the public involved and discuss that on both sides of the argument.
Thanks, Councillor Baker. Councillor Bondi?
I think I was always on talk. I guess my question is, what discussions have we had? What parameters have we given administration? Because I'm kind of left clueless unless I've missed some meetings, which I don't think I have. Like, when administration came out with the bylaw, it was all-encompassing. We had cemeteries, we had town hall, we had all rec facilities. We were in agreement that we didn't like that bylaw, so that's fine. So personally, this is what I would throw out there if we were discussing. I would throw out there cemeteries. I'm not going to lose any sleep over. If the mayor wants, a smoking section for the 73s, that's fine. Top parks, I would prefer not to see smoking at top parks. Splash pads, I prefer not to see smoking there. So I don't think we've had that discussion, because I don't know where anybody else here stands.
Councillor Vokes?
Whether a bylaw has been drafted, whether it is or isn't, is really, in my view, is irrelevant. We're here tonight because we're supposedly, we want to be transparent. So when I look at having a public meeting, it's a big deal. You take a half hour of your life, an hour of your life, the public meeting. And nobody cast stones at you after to say, well, you done nothing to afford me the opportunity to speak to it. Have the public meeting and move on. Simple as that. Don't micromanage it. Set a date, have the public meeting, and move on. Doesn't matter, you got the bylaw, you didn't have the bylaw, did you have it? Just do it. Honestly, there we are again, right? We're going to make a big deal out of nothing. Just set a date for the public meeting and do it.
Thanks, Councillor Vokes. Councillor Baker?
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Malash. So if I would ask administration and Cheryl, what was our motion at that particular meeting for administration to do with regards to the bylaw? We had a motion, and that motion was passed to do something. I mean, that we're following procedure, we're just asking, I guess I would like to know what the motion said. Then we'll follow what our directions are,
I'll have to look at it.
which is still public and still transparent, by the way, and that's the process. What we're doing was we're saying, we've asked administration to draft something on our discussions, we've had some input. At that particular time, when we have a draft bylaw, the public certainly and is expected to have comment.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Vokes? Councillor Bondi?
I'd like to ask a question to administration through you, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Donna, which method would you prefer? Since you will be the one that will mainly be drafting the bylaw.
Through you, Your Worship, I think my preference would be to have a better understanding of what facilities are key for council. Because at this point, in order to determine designated area, we need some help in determining what is the best designated area. We've been offered that help from the health unit, from their tobacco enforcers, or whatever they're called, enforcement officers. So rather than take their time, my time, Cheryl's time, and staff time, I'd like to get some feel for what facilities and what your feelings are in terms of what you want to see for designated areas. Do you want it in all facilities, some facilities, no facilities? That's the kind of discussion I would like to see. One thing I can mention to you, I was going to bring back to council town-owned properties throughout the municipality. I finally got most of its map now, which I was going to put on for a meeting before the regular meeting on the 16th. And maybe that's a good time to go through that as well and say, you know, is this a facility that you want to see a designated area? Is this a facility you don't want to see any smoking at all? That, I think, would help us, rather than us spending and looking at every single facility and trying to assume what it is that council wants.
Thanks, Mrs. Hunter. Councillor Baker?
Yeah, through Deputy Mayor Malash. So does that include the public at that session, or are you just asking council's input?
Through you, Your Worship, that could be a public meeting. That should be a public meeting.
So-
At which time, if there's any comments from the public, we could hear those comments.
All right, so having said that, we have a motion, whatever we did say before, to go back and draft the bylaw, but you're asking for some assistance.
I'm asking for some guidance.
Some guidance.
More than assistance. I
All
think
right.
if we have that guidance, I think it'll make it a lot more efficient for us to put together something.
Okay, and then, okay, and at that point, we hear from the public on both sides of this issue. Okay?
Thank you. I have a question then for you, Mrs. Hunter. When we put the ad in the paper to the public, it may be beneficial to put some kind of direction as to what we're looking for in that meeting, so that when the public comes to the meeting, they have a kind of an idea or sense of the answers that they should have available when they come to the meeting. For instance, right now you're mentioning what facilities would you like to see be directed with a smoking bylaw, and which facilities would be not in the bylaw. Would you look like designated smoking, or just plain out no smoking at those facilities? And I think if the public knew in advance of coming to the meeting, that you might get some better or more decisive answers from the public.
Through you, Your Worship, yes, we can certainly do that. We can make the ad a little bit more meaty in terms of what we are doing.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Mrs. Bondi, our clerk here, has the motion. Oh boy, that's pretty far away though.
I can read it. This motion. This motion was from council's July 8th 2013 meeting, and the motion was that administration be instructed to prepare a report with respect to providing designated smoking areas within Town of Essex owned properties.
Councilor Baker?
So that's the motion, and now that we're hearing from administration they'd like some further direction, that does make sense, but the motion stands. So just to point out that when we make motions from council, we've asked them to do something, it's the first we've heard from administration that they would like some further direction, so that's good to know. But that wasn't part of the, had we known that, then maybe this discussion would have been already taken care of, but, so I'm in favor of that. Okay?
So it sounds like council's in favor of that. So do we want to leave it with administration to pick a date or come back to council with a date, proposed date?
So we should listen to Councillor Vogt's motion because it'll add to that one.
Councilor Vokes?
I'd like to put a motion forward that October 2nd, 5 o'clock, we meet on the smoking. Why? And don't accept the motion.
Councilor Vokes, could we possibly leave it with administration? just to
Perfect.
Come back to all of
Yep.
us and see if we can get a date? I think this one's important enough that all of us
Yep,
should be in
absolutely.
attendance.
No problem.
Thanks. Seconder on that motion? Councilor Bondi, all in favor of the motion?
The motion is saying at a date to be determined, that we'll have a public discussion on aspects of the proposed bylaw?
That's the motion exactly.
Okay.
All in favor?